Hello, so today we'll be talking about the father effect. It has absolutely taken me a while. I've had this topic for some time, probably at least close to about a month, if not longer, and I've attempted, and then I've had to just kind of come back and restart again. And so tonight I'm diving in. This is a topic really, really dear and near to my heart. So the father effect. Whew, man, this is big. So um, again, I'm Brittany, and this comes out of my business called Pure, which stands for Purpose Under Reconstruction Embraced. And I've really just had to allow God to take me through a process of restructuring and reconstructing my life, from mistakes and mess ups and things that I did that made me feel like it was an utter disaster, and how would I ever recover from it? How would I ever come back from that? And so through that, he gave me the name Pure. And so that's the name of my business. So primarily focusing on, initially it started out as for single parents, but that has now grown into so much more. And so it is a resource for families, a resource for single parents, but also educational tools, equipping people in home ownership and just wisdom, different areas, finances, wealth, mentoring, coaching, just business, all kinds of things. It's just branched out so much. And so I'm grateful to God for the ability to be restored, the ability to bounce back from the unimaginable, the unthinkable, the thing that just pierced your heart to the core, and you are like, what in the world just happened? And how could I ever recover? And so part of that tonight in this topic that I'm going to talk about is the father effect. And this really, really hit me deep because there have been several times recently where I've been like driving or I've been doing something, and I'll just hear God like, I love you. Like a deep, I love you. And I love you like, okay, you have nothing to even compare this love to. And I'm still learning how to like comprehend and grasp, if it's even possible, the love of God, the love of God for me, the love of God for just really shattering all barriers, blockages, expectations, boxes, labels. I mean, just shattering really everything and learning how to receive the true and pure love of God. And so that's where I am in life these days. I was a single mom, single parent for over 17 years, and the struggle was absolutely real. The struggle was absolutely real, and that's something that I've like really, I think, posed and brought to myself. Okay, you know, what is that you feel like, you know, when you know better and you know not to do something, that you just almost is like second nature. You feel like you have to go against the grain and just do it. And you know that it's wrong, and you know that it has consequences, and you know that it can be damaging, but you just make the choice to do it anyway. Let's not do that, people. Self-sabotaging. I learned that years later, you know, just like self-sabotaging. I think sometimes even too, it can be a form of almost like self-hatred, rebellion. I mean, I know it can be so many things tied into it, but I've just gone through so many different just years and scenarios of sabotaging so many good things. Like, okay, you were right there, and you just knew, okay, hey, this was the moment, this was the time, and then your mouth, or you were right there, and then this was the moment, and this was the time, and you did something just dumb, just ignorant. Um, and that's really what it goes back to, like ignorance, lack of understanding. And so we're going to dive into this father effect, because all that I went around with and kind of went around loop-de-loo with, I've recognized through the years that a lot of the issues, a lot of the areas, a lot of the things, a lot of the dysfunctions stemmed from the father effect. The fact that I did not have my father in my life, and through the years I've been able to see, in seeing healthy relationships and also seeing unhealthy and dysfunctional relationships, I've been able to see how much fathers have an impact on not only the family unit, but the children, the daughters, the sons, like how that impact trickles and is just like, it's like a wave of effect. And so just recognizing that, when, please know, like when that father excuse me, is not in position to lead the family, when that father is not in position to give that young daughter identity, when that father is not in position to reinforce who that young man is and should be and can be, who's doing it? Who is doing it? And at no fault of my own, or no fault of my mother, like the mom can't do all of that. So, and this is I'm a processor. I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna get into the nuts and the bolts of it and the nooks and crannies of it. But like seeing the impact, we expect, and I know there are a lot of single fathers out there too that are doing and carrying the weight of their children and their family, and the responsibility and everything. But I feel like majority of the time it's the mom, it's the woman. And just recognizing that, okay, the mother can't work the 9 to 5, take the kids to childcare, go to the job, work the job, get off the job, go pick up the children, go prepare dinner, make sure chores are done, make sure the house is in order, make sure homework is done, make sure things are prepared for the next day, make sure there's food in the house, make sure the kids have what they need for any kind of extracurricular activities. I mean, by the time you get through all of that, your day is done. And so recognizing that a lot of time these mothers are not only struggling, but they're fighting. They're fighting. I would say just it felt more like a internal fight. I know for me, when I was raising my daughter, I was a kid. I was 18. I didn't know nothing about life. I didn't know anything about responsibility. I didn't know anything about who I was. I didn't have a sense of identity. That wasn't instilled in me. My father didn't give it to me. My mother, did the best she could, but she didn't give it to me. And so I was out there just winging it and made a lot of mistakes along the way. But one thing I will say, I know I was growing, my child was growing. Not only that, I was trying to provide for her, trying to get on my own 2 feet, trying to get out of welfare and low-income housing. I mean, trying to achieve goals and all these things like that. And so it was a constant fight. It was a constant struggle. It was a constant press. And so how in the world do you do that and still focus on the identity of that child and building them? And some people do a wonderful job. I will give it to them hands down 100%. I've met and seen so many people that, you know, do an awesome job, do an amazing job. Like, they're just, they get it all down pack. And I'm like, okay, how in the world do you even do that? How in the world do you even balance all of that? But I feel like, too, you know, the percentage of that is very far and few between. Like, it's very rare that you find it. There are a lot of people out there, but it's very rare that you find that someone can literally be a single parent and balance all of those things and pour into the identity of that child in a very impactful and positive way, I would say. And so we do the best we can, but recognizing the effect of when the father's not there, there's a missing piece. And so God gave this to me and said, just kept saying, I just kept hearing, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I know that he's trying to help me to understand the depth of his love for me. And the biggest piece that has helped me as well is recognizing God is love. And so when we accept wholeheartedly and we say, okay, God, I don't even know where to begin, I don't even know where to start, but I'm here, like, okay, help me. I want right standing with you, I want right relationship with you, I want to know who I am, I want to be able to take care of my children, I want to be able to pour into them in the right ways and healthy ways that will develop and strengthen them and build them up. When we truly just like seek him with that heart to want to do things the right way, absolutely he'll come in and help. Absolutely. Like, we don't have to have, the words don't have to be perfect. And so through the years, that's where I've found myself over and over again in a place of seeking God for, okay, I don't even know how to get to the next step. God, I have nothing right now. I have nothing. I feel nothing. Nothing. How do you get something out of nothing? Like, I need your help. And every single time, he's taking me from where I didn't see how to wow. Wow. Like, it just absolutely wow. I actually had a young lady that called, I spoke to the other day, and she's known me for some time, and she said, you know, she's watched me go from home ownership at one level to home ownership at another level to home ownership at another level, and just to like be setting those goals and reach after them and obtain them as a single parent was inspiring to her. And you don't always know who's watching. You don't always know who is looking to you to see, okay, can something really truly be done? And in those moments and in those times, I can't say that I was thinking about anybody else, but I knew when I first decided that I wanted to become a homeowner. I had never seen it. I didn't have the blueprint. My mom had never owned, but I knew within myself, I said, okay, I don't want my daughter to only know apartments. I want my daughter to be able to see me as a single mother go into and own a home, and for that to be our home, and for her to know that it is possible, that she can do it without a man, not to, you know, stir on that empowerment type thing, but I wanted her to know that it is possible and that she can own a home and not have to be married and not to have children to do it. And so I have a few scriptures here that came to mind, and I was just looking up two things. I was looking up the Father in the Bible, Father, the word Father, and then I was also looking up love. And so Matthew 6:8 says, your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Luke 15:20 says, so he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him, and he ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. Proverbs 23:24. The father of a righteous child has great joy. A man who fathers a wise son rejoices in him. Proverbs 22:6. Start children off in the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. Psalm 103:13. As a father shows compassion to his children, so the Lord shows compassion to those who fear him. Ephesians 6:4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Psalm 68:5-6. Father of the fatherless, defender of widows, God in his holy abode. Isaiah 63:16. For you are our Father, though Abram does not know us, and Israel does not acknowledge us, you, O Lord, are our Father, our Redeemer. From of old is your name. 1 Corinthians 8:6. Yet for us there is one God, the Father, from whom all things are, and for whom we exist. And so that was just really important for me. I really felt just the depth of, okay, go and look up Father in the Bible. You feel like there's something missing? Go look it up in the Bible. Go see what the Bible has to say about it. That's always been a sense of grounding for me. Even in moments and even in times when I was just off doing my own thing, or not listening, not hearing, rebelling, I would come back to God and I would come back to the Word. And so the next one is the scriptures on love. And so 1 Corinthians 16:14 says, let all that you do be done in love. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7 says, love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Colossians 3:14. And above all these put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. 1 Corinthians 13:13. So now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. 1 John 4:7-8. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. 1 Peter 4:8. Above all, keep loving one another earnestly, since love covers a multitude of sins. Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Ephesians 4:2. With all humility and gentleness, with patience bearing with one another in love. And then John 14:15. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. And so, two words to just keep in mind. Father and love. If you have not had the example of a father, an earthly father, know that God is your father, and he can be absolutely more real to you than any physical father ever could be. And I know sometimes that's hard because, okay, we want the physical touch, we want the physical embrace, we want to be able to see, touch, feel, hear. But God is more. He's way more than any father could ever physically give or do for us. And so pull on that, seek that, ask for that he would fill those voids. I was reminded of, for myself, my father wasn't in my life. I think I met him when I was really young, and then I was reunited with him when I was about 15, and that was after years of me just kind of wanting to know, who's my father and all those different pieces. And so I met him, was introduced to him, met my grandmother for the first time, his mother, and family, cousins, and aunt and uncles, and little did I know, my father struggled for a long time, and I can only imagine that me not being in his life broke his heart. My mom not being in his life broke his heart. And then I heard that he had a daughter years after, and then she was, I think, in some way removed from his life, and I'm sure that just broke his heart all over again. And how do you recover from that? How do you recover from that? I know that he drank, and I know that there were already things there, but my mother made the choice. He wanted to marry her, and my mother made the choice not to marry him. And I'm thankful to God that she did, because I don't know, where we'd be today and what life would look like if she had. There were a lot of struggles there, but I can only imagine the pain, the deep pain that he felt. I can't imagine having a child and then not being in that child's life, mothering a child and then not being in their life at all, and me pretty much feeling kind of like erased out of the picture to an extent. Painful. I can only imagine that's painful. But he had things, he had struggles, and so my grandmother, his mother, was really instrumental. And the first time I met her when I was like 15, but she was very instrumental in taking me in and just being that extra hand there to make sure I was good, that when I was there in New York, that I was good, that when I wasn't in New York, that I was good, that I had what I needed, making sure I was okay, making sure I knew I was family and I was loved, and being just, her name was Constance, and just being that she was consistent. Constance was constant. She was a constant source of peace. She was a constant source of love. She was a constant source of support. And I'm just thankful to God for having met her. She impacted my life in such a short time, in such a big way. So when he was struggling, once she realized what he was struggling with and the conditions, that I was in, she took me out of that when I would go visit. And she was like, nope, you're staying here. And so I know that was hard for him as well, but I know that, I know he loved me. And so to kind of fast forward all of that, 2021, he I had been disconnected with him for a long time and reconnected with him. I don't remember exactly, but I think I reconnected with him maybe 2019-ish or 2020. And he was in a rehab facility, and the conditions that he lived in were like, knowing what he came from to what he was living in was just heartbreaking. And so we lost touch and then regained touch. And 2021, he ended up getting COVID. And I think that was in like January of 2021 or February. And it was January. And so he ended up getting COVID. He ended up going back and forth in and out of the hospital from the rehab facility, having complications, had a feeding tube. I mean, just so many things. And he has some underlying health conditions. My grandmother on my mom's side passed that year, in that February after getting COVID. And my father continued to just kind of go up and down, all the way till July. And during that time, I had a lot, and even before then, I had a lot of time to reflect. But I made up in my mind that I was forgiving him, that I was wiping the slate clean. I wasn't holding anything. I wasn't harboring anything. I was letting it go. Like, I knew I had to make a conscious effort to do that. In order to truly move forward and to be free on every level. And so I did that. So once he started to decline, that was really hard, because I knew, like, we couldn't reconcile the past. I knew, like, okay, he would never be in a position that he could truly apologize for what he did or did not do, or where he was in my life or wasn't in my life. And so I had to reconcile all of that. Like, before he even passed, I made it a point and I had to reconcile all of that. And so I went a couple of trips to New York, and the last time that I went, he had double pneumonia and he was in the hospital and he couldn't speak. And I prayed with him. I had dear friends of the family that challenged me to say, hey, look, you need to make sure your father's right. Do a prayer of salvation, prayer of rededication, just, cover him. And at first I was kind of like, And I'm like, okay, I will. And I didn't understand the depth of it. But once I got closer there and in his vicinity and knew more of what was going on, I definitely felt and understood in a greater way the depth of it. And so I said that prayer with him, a prayer of rededication, and I could tell, even though he couldn't speak, I could tell that so many things were going on in his mind. Just probably regrets, just so many things undone. Undone is the word that kept coming to my mind. Like, that there were so many things undone, left undone, and so many things that needed to be reconciled. And I just said to him, Dad, rest. I just said, rest. I said, nothing else matters. Like, nothing else matters. You're loved. We love you. We forgive you. Like, nothing else matters. Rest. And I could see and tell, like, just his whole demeanor just changed, and a rest came over his body. And I prayed the prayer of rededication, and he could not speak, but he moaned in agreement. It was those moans of, okay, like, I agree, like, this is good, and I'm here, and I agree, I hear it, and I'm here for it. And that's what he was giving me. And at the end of that prayer, he was very weak, but he took my hand and tried to pull it to his mouth. And so I took it the rest of the way, and he motioned to kiss my hand. And I knew it was sealed. it was sealed, like it was done. There was so much peace. He was at peace. Our relationship was reconciled. Nothing else mattered. His salvation was secured. Like forgiveness took place. Like so many things happened in that moment. And just to think, if I would not have done the work prior to let it go, if I would not have done the work prior to be the bigger person, you know, he's supposed to be my father leading me. But if I had not done the work prior to say, you know what, it's okay. It's okay that you didn't provide. It's okay that, you know, I didn't get the phone calls and the this and the that for years. Like, it's okay. And just trusting God with my life, trusting God with every step and every process. It's been hard. It's been really hard. But making the choice not to forgive, making the choice not to move forward, being in a continual state of regret, I'm sure it's way harder. And that's something I don't want. I don't ever want to live in regret. I don't ever want to, you know, be in a position of, oh, I wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda. I want to be. And so I pray that blessed you. A couple of days later, after that prayer and that time, a couple days after I left from New York, my father passed. And it hurt. It hurt big. But I was thankful that he wasn't suffering anymore. He wasn't going back and forth from rehab to the hospital. And greater than that, I was so thankful that we had that prayer and that his life was sealed. And so I just encourage you, like, God is our Father. He's our Father. He's our Heavenly Father. And greater than any natural man, greater than any natural resource, He's everything. He's everything. And so if you are feeling that there are aspects of your life that are missing, are not filled in, that you don't understand, that are undone, pray to the Father. Pray to the Father. It doesn't have to be elegant. It doesn't have to be big words. It doesn't have to be put together and proper. And like you could stutter through your words and He'll get it. But just go in an attitude and a heart of humility and honor and reverence for who you're talking to, for who you're speaking to, for who you are in the audience of, God. And that's something that I'm learning, like even now at this stage in life, like having a greater reverence and a greater awe for God, my Father. You know, not being so lax. We can be so used to this natural world and be lax, but having the reverence and the awe for God, our Father. And so I will more than likely continue this topic of the Father effect because it goes so deep. It goes so deep. And I've seen where, you know, the negative impacts, where it negatively impacted me, where it negatively has impacted my daughter. You know, just having the Father there, not having the Father there, you know, having the brokenness of the Father impacting and then in turn having brokenness in the child. Like, God, whoo, like there's just so many layers to this, and the only person who can feel it and heal it is God. That's the only one who can do it. And so remember this today. God is love. And it's not this natural, superficial love. like we are so used to receiving and like we are so used to giving. It's such a depth of love as you never, ever, ever, ever experienced in your life. A depth of love that you've never known. And so we're going to get to know this love. We're going to get to know this love. And when you know something, when you know someone, when you know, there are no questions. Not to say we don't ask questions or questions don't come up, but when you know, you're sure. When you know, you have confidence. When you know, you're settled. You're not tossing back and forth. You're settled. And so I pray this blessed you. And just trust that even if your mother and your father and your friends, your spouse, whoever, if anyone has broken your heart, forsaken you, disappointed you, people are broken. Forgive. Let it go. Move forward. Don't let it hold you up. Seek your Father, your true Father. You're not from, we're in this world, but we're not of this world. Seek your Father. Seek your Father for healing. Seek your Father for wholeness. Seek your Father for freedom. True freedom. True freedom. True freedom, not man-made freedom. True freedom. Freedom in Christ. So, I love you, and I hope that this has absolutely given you just some things that you need. I pray that this has blessed you, and let's love. Let's love. Love, love, love. Love without expectation. Love without agenda. Just love. And you'll see the freedom that you feel and the freedom that it brings. God bless.